Hey man, guess what? Modern Warfare got a Battle Royale mode. It's called Warzone. And if you're expecting Blackout 2.0, you're gonna be surprised. But this thing has some key differences that make it really stand out from the other Battle Royale games out there. Now, as usual with these things, there's a lot they don't explain too well, so these are 10 things Call of Duty Modern Warfare Warzone doesn't tell you. Let's get started off with number 10, where cash is what makes this different. An important thing about this game that separates it from the other Battle Royale games and the standard Modern Warfare multiplayer is contracts. These are like these little gold markers you find around the map that give you certain objectives to complete. Open some chests that get marked, recon some buildings, or take out a specific target. At first, you might think that these are kind of just like a pointless addition to the gameplay, just busy work, but they're really, really not. Basically, camping isn't so much your friend in this game. Your ability to survive into the endgame is way more based on getting a lot of money than it is just lucking into finding a good gun randomly and just kind of like waiting out the match, you know? There's a big reason for this. Money buys you the absolute best stuff in Warzone. There's 3 things you're really gonna want. Armor, you know, the more spare pieces you've got, the better, which those are easy enough to find. Self-revive kits, which are as good as they sound, basically. Redeployment tokens, which lets you come back if you die completely, and the loadout crate, which when called down makes it so you can collect your pre-made custom loadout. You know, the same one for multiplayer, the one that you're used to. And it's the only way to get your 3 loadout perks. In general, your customs are gonna be a lot better than what you can find on the map, so it's just a really good idea to run around the map, collect cash, and get the loadout crate at a buy station whenever you get the opportunity. All of this stuff combined basically means that campers, you know, at least the find a spot at the beginning of the game, don't move until the final circle closes in type guys, it's just not gonna work out for them as much. Getting cash is just incredibly useful. But since we did mention campers at number 9, let's talk about how camping can still work if you're smart about it. Now, I don't like camping personally, let me get that out of the way, but people do it. Here's some things to think about. If you are in that camping mood, definitely the best spots to camp are the buy stations, which show up on the map and are usually placed so that they're out in the open. If you're in a higher density area and it's pretty much guaranteed that people will be passing by and attempting to load up on one of these things, you know, everyone wants a self-revive kit and a good loadout crate, so they're high demand locations and they're fairly common. So if you do decide to camp out one of these things for a while, there's a few things to keep in mind. Don't just sit in the building beside it or anywhere on the ground level that people might randomly just pass by. You don't want to get shot in the back. So find a nearby building and hide out there. Remember to close all the doors and avoid breaking any glass, you know, especially because this game puts glass on pretty much every window of every building, even in places where it doesn't really make sense, but be sure not to break them because that's a surefire sign that someone's either been through that building or is in that building. So just really, you don't want to give anyone a reason to be suspicious. But once you're settled in, hang back and wait for your prey to come to you. Hiding out near a buy station gives you the added advantage of being able to buy up anything you might need and then just camp away. I know I said previously that camping isn't quite as strong in this game, but what I really mean by that is that you just have to be a little smarter about how you do it. If you can do that, it's possible to really still dominate. Now, next at number 8, you need to know that there are some very powerful strategies possible in this game at the moment. Loadout crates are very powerful right now, you know, an effective strategy to just land somewhere away from players, money farm by running around and looting buildings and completing recon operations, then buying a big loadout drop marker at a buy station. You get your awesome loadout and you can clean house. Another one, a big powerful strategy, is to land in a high population zone, complete operations and bounties, collect as much armor as you can, and then use the money you've collected to get UAVs, self-revives, and max out your armor capacity. UAVs are incredibly useful, obviously, for a decently coordinated team, so don't sleep on them. They make it that much easier to mark and eliminate enemies and are especially helpful for hunting bounty targets. Using this strategy, you don't have to call in a loadout crate if you don't want to. Just having a high level of battlefield control with the UAVs and great survivability with the armor of self-revives and stuff is gonna put you on another level compared to everyone else. But over at number 7, let's talk about the Gulag. You gotta get good at it. It's not really too hard to understand how the whole thing works, and it's a pretty fun addition to the Battle Royale format. 2 dead players fight each other in a small arena. Whoever wins gets to come back to life and fight another day. Now, what weapon loadout you get is random, usually a double barrel shotgun or a pistol, a random lethal and a stun grenade, or just sometimes nothing. It takes about 4 seconds after the Gulag match starts before you can use your throwing weapons, so a lot of players end up staying on their end of the arena and only moving when those become available, which I get it, but I think it's better that you get yourself closer to the center as quickly as possible. Be sure to hug the walls and move it away so that the other player can't see you, and you know, your best bet to win is to catch your enemy by surprise, obviously. Use your grenades to distract them. You know, people tend to kind of move towards explosions if they see them, so use that to your advantage and circle around to get to them from behind. It's important that you have control of the center of the map because that's where the flag is in case you get a tie, you know, 2v2 gunfight if you've played it. So try and stay in that area, you know, hug the walls as best you can and don't try and move around too much. Don't sway in and out of cover to try and spot the enemy, just wait for them to expose themselves and take them out. Sometimes that works. Of course, if you are feeling friendly, it's possible for both players to get back into the fight with a little cooperation. If you get a triple tie, i.e., you know, nobody dies, nobody captures a flag, and both players are the same distance from the flag when the timer runs out, they both win. It's not something that's gonna happen often, but hey, it can happen. But over at number 6, it's smart to make a new loadout specifically for Warzone. For actually building a loadout to use with these loadout crates for Warzone, there's really only a few things you absolutely need, because everyone is going to want to have a lot more armor in this than in a standard multiplayer mode. You're going to want something with high damage and big magazine sizes. Light machine guns and assault rifles with extended mags are an absolute must. For LMGs, the PKM is one of the best. You're fairly slow with it, but it does a lot of damage and is great at very long ranges, as well as closer ones. Give it the 150 round belt and the thermal optic sight, and you'll be much more effective. If you don't want to move quite as slow, an assault rifle is the best all-around gun for Warzone. Our favorite is the M4A1 with a foregrip and a 60 round magazine. And the heartbeat sensor is always useful as a tactical, as well as certain perks like Tracker and Ghost, which, remember, you can only get by accessing your loadout from a loadout crate. In general, you're going to want to focus on being harder to find while your enemies easier to find and kill. If you do that, you'll be set. But down to number 5, there's some pretty noticeable changes to how sound works in this mode. Sound and detection works a bit differently in Warzone than in the standard multiplayer offerings. Footsteps are much harder to notice in this, whereas any gunfire is the opposite. It sounds very, very obvious. This means that there's a few things you should keep in mind. Because firing makes so much noise and pings your location on the compass as well as the map, it's smart to avoid shooting as much as possible. But keep in mind, silencers are crazy useful in this mode, for obvious reasons, as well as the ghost perk, as it makes it so UAVs can't detect you. And because UAVs are fairly common and easy to exploit in Warzone, being, at least somewhat mostly invisible to them can make things a lot easier for you. Another thing to keep in mind is that vehicles are very noisy. You can hear them coming from a mile away, no matter what it is. It'll show your location with pinpoint accuracy on the minimap to anyone nearby, so maybe consider avoiding that if you don't want to be a sitting duck, man. But over at number 4, little things that we've seen pop up that people have recommended, holding the button to loot can kind of be a pain in the neck, so consider changing it in the options. Playing a battle royale game with a controller, if you are in that situation, having to hold the use button to pick up items rather than just, tapping it, that's kind of rough. You don't really have time to be holding down buttons when there's an enemy on your butt, so you just need to pick up that stuff fast. And thankfully there's an option. In the options menu, go to the controller tab and find this, use/reload behavior, and change it to contextual tap, which makes it so you can just tap the button to both reload and use. No more holding it to pick up. It seems minor, but trust us, having to hold to pick up items can get kind of annoying after a while, and that fraction of a second might save your life. Down to number 3, there's some great ways to use airstrikes here. If you really want to get some easy kills, just buy up a cluster strike and dump it on the loadout crate, or buy stations when you see someone approach it. Nobody will know where you are, and the whole team, or at least 2 of them, will be on the box, so it's an incredibly easy way to take a few people out. More perfect spots to use a cluster strike or a precision strike are rooftops though. Downtown is sniper and just rooftop dude central. People love to hang out over there. Shout out to Reddit user 6Riz for this video of them using a precision strike to destroy a rooftop filled with snipers. It just goes to show that airstrikes can be absolutely devastating in the right hands. Coming down to number 2 though, there is actually more to parachuting than you'd think. It's totally possible to kill people while parachuting, even at the very beginning of the match. Just cut your parachute, fire at your chosen enemy with your starting loadout weapon, and then redeploy your parachute. I'm not kidding. It takes some practice, but it can be a rude awakening to anyone who thinks they're safe when the match starts. In general, parachuting is very useful because you can redeploy a parachute as much as you want while you're playing. Take advantage of that fact to quickly get off buildings, maybe if you're up there sniping, or just use it to get around a match very quickly when you find yourself at a higher elevation point. It's easy to do, and you can redeploy from only a few meters off the ground, so parachuting in general is just really forgiving and easy. So definitely keep it in mind wherever you are at any point. But down to number 1, there is some stuff to remember about teamwork in Warzone. At the moment, this is a purely team-based game. There is no solo mode, so be nice to them. You know, if you see someone who's missing armor, give them some of yours. This is a big one. There's a lot of armor to find laying around, so be sure to share it if anyone on your team needs some. Mark targets and be smart about it. Be sure to double tap the ping to change it to a hostile marker to make it clear that there's an enemy in that building, not just a building you should run into. A lot of times if you're playing with public random people, they're most likely not gonna have a headset, so the ping system is gonna be your main vector of communication. So use it well. If you communicate with your team, they're gonna be more likely to communicate back. A coordinated team in all of these battle royale games is often more likely a winning team. Or of course, you can just go totally lone wolf, ignore your team, and just snipe a bunch of dudes. Hey, you're free to do whatever you want. We're not here to tell you what to do. But these are 10 things you should know about Call of Duty Modern Warfare Warzone before jumping in. These beginner tips should help some of you out, so good luck, go get them, have fun.
To you now. Well done.
Of course, if you have any other tips, we'd love to hear from you down in the comments, and I'm sure everyone else watching this video could appreciate more tips. But anyway, if you learned something, clicking the like button is the best way you can help us out. We'd really appreciate it. And if you're new, consider maybe subscribing and hitting that notification bell, because we put out new videos every single day. Either way though, as always, thanks for watching, and we'll see you guys next time.